Giving the Blazers a lot of love. What a job they did getting to the playoffs, winning game one. You see LeBron and Carmelo right there, good friends. 131-122, the Lakers win in 5. AD with 43 on 14 of 18. LeBron 36, 10 and 10. KCP 4 of 9 from 3 with 14 points. The Rockets wrap up their first round series. Game one between the Lakers and Rockets will be on Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Go back to Orlando. Frank Vogel speaking with Mike and the media via Zoom.
Hey, Frank, the collective efficiency from LeBron and AD in this one, just how would you evaluate their performance, not just in Game 5, but for the series against Portland?
Two of the best players in the game, rising to the challenge in a closeout game, both delivering special performances, and obviously we don't win the game without them doing what they did tonight.
Frank, I know you'll have likely almost a week or perhaps a little bit shorter, and you don't know who you're going to play yet in the next round. How would you just evaluate your defense and your team in general after these 5 games and the points where you think you need to sharpen up before your next matchup?
Yeah, I was very impressed with how we committed to the defensive end the first 4 games. This team was posting an offensive rating of 124, which would be the best offensive rating in the history of the game. And for the first 4 games, our defense was as sharp as it's been all year. Their offensive rating was around 100 or under. Some of the fourth quarter blowouts factor into that. But we performed at an extremely high level on the defensive end in this series. Obviously, it slipped some tonight. Different type of mental challenge with Dame being out and whatnot. But overall, very excited about where that's at, and whoever we play in the next round, will be a different challenge entirely.
Hey Frank, it's Dave. Coming into the series, there was so much talk about how hot of an opponent the Blazers were, especially their offensive rating. Obviously, they went 6-2 in the seeding round. They won Game 1, and you talked about, and others talked about how it'd be an opportunity to sharpen your own game. How do you feel like you guys got better this series?
Well, it's tough to have a defensive plan where you have to double as much as we had to double in this series. So, there's a lot that goes into that, both corralling the man on the ball and committing and covering things on the backside. And, we prefer not to double when it's, when we don't have to. By doing so, as much as we did in this series, it really sharpened us to make sure we're covering all those areas. So, I think it definitely improved us. Knowing what they're capable of kept the sense of urgency throughout the series. And, we said coming into this that if we were able to beat the Blazers, that, them being such a powerhouse offense is going to help us in later rounds, and hopefully that's the case.
Allie? Kyle Goon?
Frank, how much would you sort of sense that maybe some of the emotion of the last couple of days, or maybe even exhaustion of the last couple of days, or maybe fatigue contributed to maybe just not having that sharpness tonight?
I think maybe a little bit, but I don't really feel like we didn't have a mental edge. I just think we were facing a different opponent. When a team loses a guy like Dame Lillard, it just changes their whole dynamic offensively. And everybody else gets more shots, more minutes, more touches, and more confidence. So it was just a different type of defensive challenge. I felt like we worked extremely hard on that end of the floor, and I don't know if the last couple of days was a big factor.
It's kind of been a theme, it seems like, in this series of LeBron getting AD going, so to speak, on offense. Did you see that tonight?
I did see it in the second half. I know AD had a big first quarter. Didn't really get going in the second, and we wanted to get him going a little bit early in the third. I thought Bron did a great job of that, but honestly, AD did a lot of it himself as well. he just both of those guys rose to the challenge. They elevated their play, and obviously AD having a huge, I think 30-point second half, 31-point second half, something like that. Was a factor of both. LeBron getting him involved, getting him going a little bit, and then AD just asserting himself.
All right, Tanya?
You relied on Alex and KCP for their defense all series. What can you say about, I know that the first half of the defense struggled a bit, but in the closing portion, what can you say about how they
They're exceptional. We don't win this series if those two guys don't play at the level that they played at on two of the best guards in the game, in Dame and CJ. And what I love about them is that they're both two-way players. They're contributing on both ends. Even though they're excelling on the defensive end, they're making plays offensively as well. And like I said, they were a huge part of this series victory.
Do you think that when people were talking about the Blazers being a difficult matchup for the Lakers 300 years ago when that was happening, do you think that they took personally the idea that these guards were going to be that you guys didn't have a way to stop these guards?
Those two guys? Yeah, I think they took the challenge. They recognized the threat, that this is a team that could beat us if we don't rise to the challenge on that end of the floor. And it's not just the two guards. Terry Stotts is one of the most respected coaches in the game. I have the utmost respect for what he brings to the table and the way his teams play. And that was a heck of a basketball team that we were able to beat. But those two guys, like I said, when you have two little guards that are as explosive as CJ and Dame are, what you do on the ball, that's where it all starts. So those two guys rose to the challenge.
Longer travel.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, we're just talking about MVP voting. I'm just talking about how LeBron should get it.
I like that. I like it. We bring in Allie Clifton. So we talked a lot of AD and LeBron already. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, we understand what LeBron James and Anthony Davis, as you guys have mentioned so often, what they're capable of and what they're going to be responsible for night in and night out. But I think what we've all heard and learned and understand is that they're not going to win every single game in every series by themselves. So who is going to step up? Who is going to be able to be called upon? And at the start of this series, I thought to myself, two guys who have never Caruso and Kyle Kuzma. And what stood out to me, I think, through the 5 games with Alex Caruso, guys, he's a positive 11 on average, 24 minutes a night, 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. A guy that when we don't really know what you're going to get with Rajon Rondo, when he will return, that kind of experience, who is going to handle the ball when LeBron is not on the floor, we saw what he is capable of. Kyle Kuzma, a guy that we talked about. Bron said he's got to be the 3rd best player on our squad. He may not have had the best offensive series, just averaging 11 points a game, but I think we saw him take some steps in the growth department on the defensive end of the floor. And he said at the end of those 8 seeding games that is the area where he understands if he wants to continue to grow his reputation as a player, he's got to be able to do it on both ends. Just two guys that stood out to me, I think, throughout this series that can certainly help the Lakers going forward.
I think Allie brings up a great point because to win a championship, you already know you have AD and LeBron. But what do those other players do? And after game 1, when they shot, 15%, only made 5 threes, still could have won that game, the narrative was the Lakers just aren't shooting well in the bubble. Since that time, they had a record for playoff threes made in a game, and they shot 39% from that game on. That's pretty important, Big Game James. And a lot of that is the other guys she's talking about. KCP, Kuzma, Danny Green, Caruso, all those guys.
Yeah, and even a few games ago, some guys came off the bench who don't get a lot of playing time. Guys like Cook, Waiters, JR, all those guys are going to be key if they get on the floor. So I think shooting the 3 and, having other guys step up, like Ali said, when LeBron and AD aren't there, I really think Kuz is ready. I don't think he's required to score every night because you got 2 dominant players, LeBron and AD, but I think in the situation lends itself, and they really need Kuzma, and they go to him, I think he can step it up and score at will. But I think he's working on other things. But collectively, they start to shoot that 3 ball, it's going to be really good for them.
I'm glad you brought up Caruso and Kuz, Allie, because in July we talked a lot about that. We were doing shows leading up to the bubble. How will those guys play in the playoffs? Their first time ever. Well, Rob, their first time ever wasn't like your first time ever. They were in Orlando, in a bubble, Then there was a stoppage in play. There was boycott. I mean, there's been some things, right? This isn't your average playoff time.
This has been a roller coaster of emotions, a roller coaster of what do we do next. But think about shooting threes. They're contagious. You know, if you look at the first time, everybody was, we call it clanking off the back rim. The next couple of games, it was all shooting 33% after that first game. It was about getting playoff ready. And now they're playoff ready. They knocked the rust off. They're shooting threes. And like you said, playing in the bubble for a playoff game when you work so hard during the regular season to get home court advantage. Now there's no home court advantage. It's just you and your homies in there battling to see who's the best. And I think this was a great test for them. And playing a team that was already battle tested coming in. And so it's an abundance of things that you have to take in and handle them like a true champion. And they're going to come out after this bubble thing and be a better team than they went in.
You guys are ready for the second round. Strong A block by you guys. Much more ahead. LeBron James and the Lakers move to the Western Conference semifinals for the first time since 2012.